What's going on, everybody? This is going to be a solo shuffle guide for Discipline Priest as of Season 1 in Dragonflight. Things may change, the meta may change, the solo shuffle game mode itself may change, so take this all with a grain of salt. However, I have been having a lot of fun and, quite frankly, a lot of success on Discipline Priest, despite the fact that I am a brand new healer and, quite frankly, I'm not very good. Many of you are going to cringe at many of the concepts in this video. A lot of the gameplay in this video is very suboptimal. Trust me, I know I make tons of dumb mistakes. I know. But with that being said, I have cracked into the top 50, top 25 Discipline Priests in the US, despite being completely brand new. So, as weird as it sounds, my idiocracy, you may pick up some things just because I'm coming at this from a completely new mindset, completely uncorrupted by how things were in the past. Again, this is a solo shuffle specific guide. This will likely not be nearly as applicable in organized 3v3. Things are much different when you have organized set team comps, set classes, the coordination. The timings are different because dampening doesn't ramp up nearly as fast. This is catered towards solo shuffle specifically. With all that being said, I am certainly no authority on Disc Priest, but considering the fact that I've had so much success with such completely unorthodox methods, I feel like there's got to be some value here, even for people that are objectively better at the class than me. All right, so let's take a look at the talents, and I know many of you are already shaking. What the fuck am I seeing? Is he really not spec'd into this, or that? He's crazy. The big one that I know you're all looking at is, wow, he really did not get Dispel Magic. That is crazy. And trust me, I agree. Because for the longest time, you know, I watched Hydra 7 just like all of you guys. I want my finger to be ultra numb from spamming the Dispel Magic button. I get it. That's what I did at first too. But I found that if you really go back and watch your gameplay, how many genuinely high value dispels are you getting? You only really think about the good ones, where it's like you totally own that evoker by ripping off his reversions and dream breath immediately and he dies and falls over and it feels fantastic. But how many times does that happen versus how many times does that not happen? The main theme of my talent choices is value. All of my talents right now are giving me some form of value all the time. They are constantly working for me. They're not situational. They are not wasteful if I use them wrong. In fact, a lot of the times they are dummy proof and I just can't use them ineffectively just by their design. It's all about consistent value, consistent gameplay in all of these crazy random matchups. So another example would be like Mass Dispel. Of course, you think about Mass Dispel and you think about the time where you instantly MD the Paladin bubble and he dies and you made a big play and it's awesome. But the reality is, a lot of the times that Mass Dispel comes in a global or two late, the Paladin gets around the pillar, gets a heal, he ends up surviving, and the whole thing is kind of muddied and doesn't really work out as flawlessly and perfect as you would like, especially in solo shuffle. And the final crazy example is Leap of Faith. With all of the demon hunters that are playing with Xbox 360 controllers, this talent may in fact hurt you. This may be detrimental to use. You might as well just let them do their thing and just hope that you keep them alive. Because if you leap of faith that warrior at 20% health that's around the pillar, all he's going to do is heroic leap and charge back around the pillar again. That's what he's going to do. I don't care if you're 2300 or 1200 rated. They all fucking do it. It doesn't matter. So are you genuinely for real saving people's lives with Leap of Faith? And not only are you saving their lives, are you saving their lives but then turning the game around in a way to where you win? Because a lot of the times, in my experience on Discipline Priest and Solo Shuffle, if you lose that initial pressure and you have to retreat and regroup and then start all over again, you're probably going to lose to mana. If you're going against a druid or an evoker, you're just going to lose the long game. If you don't have your foot right on the throat of the enemy from the start of the game, or you don't get it going pretty quick, you just lose. That seems to be the case, and Leap of Faith in a lot of ways may be counterproductive. Now, again, this is probably different if you're playing RMP on organized threes, where it's all about kill setups and things like that. But again, this is solo shuffle, where the demon hunter you're playing with is on a controller, and the arms warrior you're with is having to look at the keys on the keyboard as he presses them. This is how it is. Discipline Priest is very much a unique case in that you need to really be focusing on getting the enemy team on the back foot immediately. If you do not get the enemy on the back foot and have them playing more defense than offense, you will lose. Very, very rarely do you have a come from behind victory on Disc Priest where you were losing the whole game and then a miracle happens. That very rarely happens. For the most part, you just need to slowly, put your foot on their throat and just ramp up the pressure. And that's how you win games, especially in solo shuffle. So what that means is that every single non-essential global that is not a heal that's keeping somebody alive, that's not a penance or a power word shield, you need to really think about, is this the most high value play? Let's say you are running Dispel Magic and you take off a power word shield. Cool. Did you immediately take the power word shield off? Or were you a few seconds late, and by the time you took the power word shield off, it was only like 8,000 absorb left, and it kind of really wasn't worth your global cooldown to do that? And you might be saying, well, 8,000 shield is 8,000 shield. No, not really, because you need to be comparing that to what you could have been doing, particularly Purge the Wicked. This Purge the Wicked is your big GCD spender. You need to be keeping this up on everybody because it is your most high value skill on Priest by far. A full duration Purge the Wicked is going to be doing 30,000 damage roughly. This is not scaled to arena, but whatever the equivalent of 30,000 damage is, and 12,000 healing with atonement on up to 3 targets in 3v3. So we're talking potentially 30,000 damage and 36,000 healing for an instant cast 1.3 second GCD. Does that weigh up? Genuinely, does that stack up to your kind of late Dispel Magic on Power Word Shield? And that's a good Dispel. What if you're super late and you Dispel a Life Bloom that was getting ready to fall off? And Dispel Magic is genuinely, if you go back and look at your gameplay and you really average it out, are you really getting a lot of value out of that skill? Like, for real? Are you really getting a lot of value out of those mass dispels? Are those winning you games? Like, are you winning a significant amount of games? Or could all of the other things that you spec into on average be helping you out more? Just something to consider. It's a mindset. I'm not going to go through every talent, but I am going to talk about some of my more controversial picks, starting off with Tithe Evasion. Now, this, I would never spec into this unless I was specking into Eternal Rest as well. If you are specking into Eternal Rest and you are playing the YOLO Expiation, however you say that word, build, this damage from Shadow Word Death will add up. And it is absolutely worth taking that because those Shadow Word Deaths hitting you is not fun. So that's why I take that. Next controversial pick is Crystalline Reflection. And I think this is probably the least controversial for those that know, they know. This is actually crazy stealth OP. If you actually go and look and see the amount of damage Crystalline Reflection does in your average game, it is immense, especially if you're getting very high value Rapture power word shields. Like if you're popping Rapture and there's a Demo Warlock throwing his entire pet army at somebody and every global is a full power word shield, that reflect damage genuinely adds up to a lot. And obviously, a nice little heal on your power word shield, not the worst thing in the world. Also, it gets you to Angelic Bulwark. This is a talent that will absolutely save you from losing games. It will absolutely give you that little bit of breathing room, that little bit that will save you from being cheesed by whatever crazy damage whatever elemental shaman cheese just happened, there's a good chance it'll save you from a loss. Now, with a talent like Angelic Bulwark, the argument is, well, if they don't go on me and they don't get me low, I get no value. But in my opinion, it saves me from more cheese losses than that. And it's 1 point. I'm already there. I think it's worth it. And also, it lets you be a little bit more ballsy with your trinket and your pain suppression on yourself. So I don't know. I personally like that. Next thing that's a bit controversial is that I don't have the crazy good mind games. I just have normal baseline mind games. And the thinking behind this is, dude, it's just kind of expensive to get to the good mind games. You have to pick up 2 filler point talents and manipulation that really don't work for you much. How much are you realistically reducing your mind games cooldown by with, a second off of every penance you do? And this build doesn't really use much smites. I don't know. I don't know. How much is that genuinely working for you? So you got to get 3 points just to get to it. And not only that, if you have that much invested into mind games, you need to be getting good mind games off. Whereas with my build, the baseline mind games, yeah, it's not as crazy as the upgraded one for sure, but still pretty good. Still does a good amount of damage. Still enough, in my opinion. And also, if it gets dispelled, I'm not crying about it. I kind of just YOLO it out there. Even if a healer, fucking throw it out. Maybe you didn't see it. Solo shuffle, baby. For my final controversial pick, it is Expiation. This genuinely adds up to a lot of damage. 6 seconds of your Purge the Wicked hitting every time you Shadow Word Death or Mind Blast. That leads you to a crazy combo where it's Mind Games, Shadow Word Death, Mind Blast. And that will surprise some people. That damage can hit somebody like 40-0 easily. And even if you're not setting up kills with it, even if you're not doing anything fancy and you're just throwing out of mind games when you get locked out on Holy, that's a very common thing I do. I get kicked on Holy. We got nothing else to do, mind games, and it's just a good little chunk of damage. It's nice. And obviously, spamming Shadow Word Death every 8 seconds adds up to an insane amount of damage when you factor in Expiation. And I genuinely think it's almost an unintended synergy. You got to think about it from Blizzard's perspective. They design these talent trees primarily for PvE. And when they were tuning Expiation, they were very likely tuning it around PvE. And when you have a PvP talent like Eternal Rest that lowers the cooldown of Shadow Word Death, one of the primary synergistic elements of this talent, by 60% less cooldown, it's just immensely powerful. And I think a lot of people are really sleeping on it. Now, the primary concern with running Expiation and spamming Shadow Word Death is, what if I don't have Shadow Word Death for when the CC comes? That just hasn't been my experience and actually playing solo shuffle. For the most part, I have Shadow Word Death available when the mage is going for the polymorph or when the evoker is going in for the sleep. I don't know why, but seemingly I very rarely get screwed over by the fact that I'm actually spamming it. And for whatever reason, maybe it's because there's usually some form of cross CC before the sleepwalk comes in and it's only an 8-second cooldown, so it's likely I have it by then. Usually for whatever reason, I just haven't been getting screwed over by that. So just try it. Honestly, just try it. See if you can get away with spamming death. Maybe people will get better at playing around this and watching for it. But so far, I have not been punished for it. And the PvP talents, Ultimate Radiance, it's kind of hard to get away from that. It's just really good. And Inner Light and Shadow. Now, I want to say that I, for the most part, run Inner Shadow, which sounds crazy because I complain about mana a lot. But honestly, dude, I think Inner Shadow may be the more mana efficient choice. In my lived experience playing the class, I think that the bonus healing you get from the Atonement means that you just have to heal less with your holy skills that are expensive as fuck. So, as weird as it sounds, Inner Shadow, in my opinion, is the way to go. First of all, you get more aggressive pressure, but I think it's actually the more mana efficient choice if you look at the numbers and really break it down and factor in that, maybe if we get aggressive and I don't have to defensively heal as much and use those really expensive flash heals and whatnot, if we can get ahead of the game a little bit, I actually have a little bit more battery life. And for my final nuclear hot take, that is that the Sigil of Adaptation, in my opinion, is unironically very good in a lot of matchups for a Disciplined Priest. Again, Disciplined Priest is very much about being ahead of the game, getting that initial pressure, keeping the initial pressure, staying on top of them, keeping that gas pedal down, and having twice as many PvP trinkets in a lot of matchups is really going to work out in your favor. Now, you shouldn't really run this against mages or really evokers or anything where there's a CC that you can hit with Shadow or Death. You need to be careful running it against rogues that can sap it off or just cheese it. Any sort of class that has like spammable CC cheese, you really can't run it, or anything that's got like, very obvious setup windows. Maybe like casters where, your teammates can run around a pillar and maybe you don't have to trinket. But if you're facing, for example, I don't know, Fury Warrior, Demon Hunter, Resto Druid, why not? Why not run the adaptation trinket and get twice as many PvP trinkets? Does it really matter if you trinket the Cyclone or the Fear or the whatever? Does it really matter? No, because at the end of the day, that matchup, most of the time, is a pressure game. Who wins the pressure game? And if you have twice as many PvP trinkets as the other guy, then you have more globals to spend on the more aggressive things. You're able to stay ahead more. Just something to consider. I genuinely, unironically think it's good. And I've had a lot of high-rated players in my games give me crap for it. And then they get 4-0'd or 5-0'd or, 4-2'd or 5-1'd. And then they're like, oh, shit, maybe that's, maybe for solo shuffle. Genuinely not a bad idea. So consider it. Now onto the gameplay section of the video. This first clip's pretty cool and features the pro player Smexon on my team. Pretty cool. He's the arms warrior, and keeping an arms warrior alive is a recipe in torture. They are very difficult to keep alive, but what you're going to notice here is that I'm going to chain my cooldowns extremely aggressively in order to maintain my own aggression and in order, to keep him aggressive as well, because we have to get this team on the back foot or else we will lose. So at the first sign of danger, immediately Rapture and immediately start putting out those massive shields. This is a very well-timed Rapture. Nearly every global is me putting a full charge Rapture onto Smexon. I even throw one on the Shaman for the hell of it just to mitigate some of that splash damage. And we really get this team on the back foot. I immediately trinket the leg sweep, Fear the Monk. Just, again, super YOLO with the cooldowns. We get them on the back foot. And I kind of wish this game would have went on a little longer because the mind games and the mind blasts would have started coming out at that point. This game's going to show off a bit more of my damage and show that Disc Priest damage, pretty real, very significant. Again, keep a look at the bottom right of your screen. You're going to notice that I'm actually going to start doing more damage than the enemy Warlock. That is not as uncommon as you would think. Again, very early Rapture usage. At the first sign of any significant danger, get that Rapture out. Pro tip, a lot of arena games will go long enough to where you will get another Rapture set of cooldowns up. It's only a 1.5-minute cooldown, and very common for at least higher rated solo shuffles to go for past a 1.5 minutes. So you can double up on the value there. And again, staying aggressive, throwing out my dots, throwing out some mind blasts, throwing out some Shadow Word Deaths. The damage is starting to add up, and look at the damage meter right now. I am beating the other Warlock in damage as the healer. And again, this is just kind of passive rot damage, which is also doubling up as healing due to atonement. You are rewarded for playing like this. You are incentivized to play like this. And in my opinion, it's really the only way you can play. I don't think there's a path to success on a Disc Priest playing a passive play style. And again, get the W. All about that pressure, baby. Next game, again, another example of you just got to get them on the back foot. Keep them on the back foot. Do everything in your power to do that. You're going to notice, again, out comes the power infusion. You know, I'm not hanging on to any of this stuff. In that last game, as soon as Metamorphosis got popped, boom, power infuse the DK. Let's get this baby rolling. Trinket the Blind. Wasn't using the insignia this game. Rogues, a little risky to use it against rogues, but dude, honestly, trinketing a blind, it's never really a bad idea to trinket a blind. Again, as a priest, very unique situation. You want to stay ahead of the game. This isn't like you're a paladin healer where you're more of a defensive, passive, whatever. You need to get the ball rolling. You need to get you need to get that damage out. Like, look at me right now. I got Purge the Wicked on all 3 people. We are pumping the DPS. We're throwing out Shadow Word Deaths. Really getting the ball rolling here. I make a bit of a mistake. They're going to put my Demon Hunter, I think the Demon Hunter, into a smoke bomb. I should have immediately barriered. Should have immediately powered barriered here when he gets put into this. But we're pretty healthy for the most part. The burst starts coming in. They are super on the back foot. Like, look at them. They're just getting mega rotted. Here's the only real sign of danger. I was just slow on the barrier. I should have put the barrier down, then ran in, got the fear. Again, another thing you're going to notice, not too many fears. Fears are incredibly risky, and quite frankly, you can get a lot of value just turreting damage in the back, 40 yards away. It's a safer, easier play. Speaking of random damage, take a look at this clip. This is not a crazy setup. This is just me throwing out some damage here and there. And look at this hunter just get wrecked. Mind games into the XP8 2 times in a row, and he just gets fucking shit on randomly by my damage. It's not, and when dampening gets high, it's very tricky to react to things like that because you are not expecting the healer to do that. So anyway, I hope this video was helpful. Again, I am not an authority on Disc Priest, but I do think that even if you are a better player than me, you can probably got some information out of this that maybe you didn't think about something a certain way, or, you know, maybe you thought to never use this. You know, that's so crazy. I can't believe anybody did that. That's kind of what I'm hoping that you found useful in this video, because as crazy as it sounds, you know, I may not be the best healer, but statistically, I'm probably higher rated than you in solo shuffle. Unless you're one of the 49 people ahead of me, probably having better results, even if I'm a worse player, just because I've stumbled upon a weird mindset or play style that you maybe have not tried. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to subscribe with notifications on. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and join the Discord. It's free.